Hey, what's happening, everybody? Peace, peace, peace. What's going on? This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So today I am going to be dealing with the topic about a sister, a warrior that is of the Hausa tribe, and she was from what is now known today as Zaria, Nigeria, the modern area. Okay, but at that time it was called Zazu. That was the name of the city, Zazu. So before I get started, I want to say Ramadan Mubarak to everybody out there that celebrate Ramadan. Ramadan is a magnificent holiday, in my opinion. So basically, on the month of Ramadan, you learn how you basically fasting all day for 30 days. So unfortunately, I'm not able to do that today, but normally I would be fasting. All right. But so Ramadan is going to be running from March 22nd to April the 21st. Okay. That's Ramadan. And you fast throughout the day. No water, no food, no nothing. So you eat before the sun up and you eat when the sun is down. That's how you do it. So you have all that time period, eat as much as you want, but throughout the day you fast, which I think that's a great thing. So Ramadan Mubarak to all the brothers and sisters out there. And speaking of that, this is one of the reasons why I felt the need to speak on this video because Women History Month is still here, and it ends on the 31st of March. And also, this sister right here, she was a Hausa Muslim. So what you'll learn that a lot of the Hausa people, they predominantly practice Islam. So the Hausa Fulani folks, Wolof people, a lot of them they are pretty much Muslim. So the Islamic culture is pretty dominant in those tribes. All right. And also you'll find out, you have a lot of Yoruba people as well that practice Islam too. So you guys gotta check into that. But anyhow, I'm gonna get into more about the Islamic culture, of course, eventually. But I want to get on this subject matter, so make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel, all that great stuff. Okay. So now I want to show you an image right here. This is the statue of Amina. Okay, Amina from Zaria. All right. So as you can see, she on the horse and she has a sword in her hands. Okay. Now, her story is very interesting because, again, she was a queen warrior. And during that time period, not too many women were in the battlefield fighting like that. She was happened to be one of the few women that actually put her life on the line. So I give her credit for that. Real talk. So I really try to find a book that was really dealing with her life, but I do have a personal book of my own, okay, that covers different story about women throughout the history, African descended women at that. All right, so let's go into the information that I found. So right here, we're going to go under Black History Heroes. Yes. So right under here, a West African warrior queen, Queen Amina of Zazu. So right under here it says Queen Amina, known as Queen Amatu, was the elder daughter of Queen Bakwa Turunku, the founder of the Zazu Kingdom in 1536. Some scholars date Queen Amina reign to about 1549, as her heir appeared apparent after the death of her mother. This medieval African kingdom was located in the region now known as the Kaduna state in the northern central region of Nigeria. Capital at the modern city of Zaria. Zaria was named after Queen Amina's younger sister Zaria and is where the royal palace of Zaria resided. Okay? So that's a picture of her again. So the earliest commentator to mention Queen Amina is Muhammad Bello's history, Ifaq al-Mazir, compiled around 1836. Queen Amina is also mentioned in the Kano Chronicle, a well-regarded and detailed history of the city of Kano and the surrounding Hausa people. It was composed in the late 19th century and incorporated earlier oral histories before the Fulani Jihad of 1804 through 1810. It included king's list of the various Hausa kingdoms. All right, so known as a great military strategist, the cavalry trained Queen Amina fought many wars that expanded this southernmost Hausa kingdom. According to the Sincor Institute of Islamic African Studies International, a nonprofit, non-political educational institution reporting on this region of the Hausa. It says these seven regions witnessed many unusual and strange events. The first to establish government among them, as it has been claimed, was Amina, the daughter of the Amir of Zazak. She made military assaults upon these lands until she proclaimed herself over them by force. The lands of Casina and Kano were forced to hand over levy to her. She also made incursions into the lands of Bachi until she reached to the Atlantic Ocean to the south and west. She died in a place called Atagar. It was for this reason that the kingdom of Zazak was the most extensive among the kingdoms of Hausa, since Bachi included many regions. All right, so again, that's a statue of her in Nigeria. Okay, that's another statue, a public statue. All right. So it says here it appears that Zazak is Zazu, and the reference is to Queen Amina. All right, so she's on a stamp right here. It says commemorative stamp of Queen Amina of Zaria. All right, so Queen Amina is a legend among the Hausa people for her military exploits. She controlled the trout routes in the region, erecting a network of commerce within the great earthen walls that surrounded Hausa cities within her dominion. According to the Kano Chronicle, she conquered as far as Nupe and Karafa, ruling for 34 years. So again, it's very unusual to have a woman that was running kingdoms and getting involved in battlefields like this. Okay? And by the fact that she's Muslim on top of that. So, there's guys out there that gonna make criticism about women and military tactics and of course the religious practice and whatnot. I mean, but you gotta understand. See, just because people practice Islamic tradition, right, doesn't mean they practice it the same way. Okay? So in those areas, it was basically acceptable to practice certain customs. All right. So if you look up the Islamic jurisdiction, right, the Sunni Islamic jurisdiction, and you look up the Maliki school of thought, for example, they were very contemporary. As a matter of fact, Sunni Muslim was alongside with those who was Sufi. Okay. So they had no problem. And they also accepted people dealing with their own traditional custom. That's why you see Yoruba Muslims practice their own traditional custom as far as the Ifa is concerned. Okay? But let's get back to the information. So by 1805, the region was captured by the Fulani during the Fulani Jihad. And by 1901, Frederick Lingard led British forces and captured Zaria as a protectorate state. This is the same year that it is reported that Zaria sought British protection against the slave raids from the Kontagora region after a Zaria Magaji murdered the British Captain Maloney in 1902 at Kifi. The British stripped the emirate of most of its vassal states. Since Nigeria is independent from the British in 1960, Zaria is one of its largest traditional emirates. Now, let's go down here. And it also says Zaria City was originally surrounded by walls built by Queen Amina, but those walls have since been removed. The above shown entrance, which is this picture right here. So the above shown entrance is to the palace of the Emir of Zazu. The Emir council over a region larger than the city of Zaria. Despite the rise of the nation states in Africa, the emirs exerts significant power within the region and represents the continuation of the traditional leadership of the historical kingdom states, right? All right, and then right here, this is a picture of a university. So Zaria is home to Ahmadu Bello University, the largest university in Nigeria and the second largest university on the African continent. The university is very prominent in the fields of agriculture, science, finance, medicine, and law. All right. So again, you can go ahead and find this information on blackhistoryheroes.com, which is the website. So I strongly recommend you guys to look into that. Okay. All right. So now that's that information. And let's see what Wikipedia is talking about because it might be some more information on here. Let's walk through it. Righty then. Okay. So here it is down here. It says she might have ruled in the mid 16th century. A controversial figure whose existence has been questioned by some historians, her real biography has been somewhat obscured by subsequent legends and folk tales. All right. So down here, it says, according to oral legends collected by anthropologist David E. Jones, Amina grew up in her grandfather's court and was favored by him. He carried her around court and instructed her carefully in political and military matters. At age 16, Amina was named Majaya and was given 40 female slaves. From an early age, Amina had a number of suitors attempting to marry her. Attempts to gain her hand included a daily offer of 10 slaves from Makima and 50 male slaves and 50 female slaves, as well as 50 bags of white and blue cloth from the Sarkin Kano. After the death of her parents in or around 1566, Amina's brother became king of Zazu. At this point, Amina had distinguished herself as a leading warrior in her brother's cavalry and gained notoriety for her military skills. She is still celebrated today in traditional Hausa praise song as Amina's daughter of Nikatu, a woman as capable as a man that was able to lead men to war. All right. So it also goes on to say after the death of her brother Kamari in 1576, Amina ascended to the position of queen. Okay, so Zazu was one of the original seven Hausa states, the other being Dakara, Kano, Gabir, Katsina, Rano, and Garun Gabas. Before Amina assumed the throne, Zazu was one of the largest of these states. It was also the primary source of slaves that would be sold at the slave markets of Kano and Katsina by Arab merchants. Only 3 months after being crowned queen, Amina waged a 34-year campaign against her neighbors to expand Zazu territory. Her army, consisting of 20,000 foot soldiers and 1,000 cavalry troops, were well trained and fearsome. In fact, one of her announcements to her people was a call for them to resharpen their weapons. She conquered large tracts of land as far as Karafa and Nupe. All right, so legend cited by Sidney John Hoban says that she took a new lover in every town she went through, each of whom said who was said to meet the same unfortunate fate in the morning. Her brief bridegroom was beheaded so that none should live to tell the tale. Whoa. Under Amina, Zazu controlled more territory than ever before to mark and protect her new lands. Amina had her city surrounded by earthen walls. These walls became commonplace across the nation until the British conquest of Zazu in 1904, and many of them survive today, known as Gunawa Amina. All right, so on here it says that the exact circumstances of Amina's death are not known. So it says that the 19th century Muslim scholar Dame Tapa said that she died in a place called Ataga. It was for this reason that the kingdom of Zazu was the most extensive among kingdoms of Hausa. All right, so they don't know exactly how she died or what exactly happened to her. Okay, so they don't really know the account as far as her death is concerned. But down here it says legacy. It says, as the British historian Michael Qualder has noted, after Amina's death, ruling class Hausa women experienced a steady diminution in their influence and were systematically deprived of their authority and autonomy. The traditional titles and offices related to authority over women and redress of their grievance have now become nominal or may have been discarded altogether. Then it goes on to say, although Amina's success as a ruler did not have a trickle down effect on her female successor, Amina enjoyed a lasting reputation bordering on legends as a woman warrior. Sultan Bello of Sokoto wrote, strange things have happened in the history of the seven Hausa states, and most strange of these is the extent of the possessions which God gave to Aminatu, daughter of the ruler of Zazu. She waged war in the Hausa lands and took them all, so that the men of Kasina and the men of Kano brought her tribute. She made war in Bachi and against the other towns of the south and of the west, so that her possession stretched down to the shores of the sea. All right. So it says beyond her expansion of Zazu territory, she created trade routes throughout northern Africa. Additionally, Amina has been credited with ordering the construction of a distinctive series of ancient Hausa fortification known as Amina's Wall, and with the introducing cola nut cultivation in the area. All right, so as we can see here, again, it's not a whole lot of information, but you guys can, let's see. So this is her family tree right here. You guys can look at the reference at the bottom of the page. Okay. All right, peace, Bar and Chains. How you doing, brother? Peace to you. Thank you for coming through. All right, so as you can see, people have this idea thinking that, of course, the African kingdoms or the people in Africa didn't fight amongst themselves, which they did at the time period. They were fighting over kingdoms, they were fighting over territories, they were fighting over controls and all of that. And as we can see, this is way before the transatlantic slave trade took place. Okay. All right. So there were tribes fighting other tribes. There were tribes that sold other tribes into slavery. They were considered as prisoners of war. Okay. And I hate when people make the argument that, oh, these tribes don't get along with each other to this day. That's true and that's false. There are certain tribes that don't interact with other tribes, but there are tribes that do get along with other tribes. But at the end of the day, we are consist of these multiple tribes. So we're not a monolithic people, if you know what I mean. We are made of different people that pretty much was, interbreeding with each other, and that makes us who we are. Okay. Now, by the fact that she was from Nigeria, and I mentioned this before, we have Nigerian ancestry. Okay. So this is part of our ancestral history that goes beyond America. All right. So we get to see how Nigeria was in the beginning before all the changes were taking place, before the neo-colonialism, before the European came in and took over. Okay. So yes, and also the Hausa and Fulani people was fighting with each other at one point in time. They were fighting each other, but they also intermarried as well. So you'll find out if you study more into the Hausa history and the Fulani history that the Fulani people and the Hausa people, they were married to one another. Okay, it did happen. So I don't think that only one tribe was just married to one particular tribe. No, it was not always the case. You had tribes that you had people that married other tribes as well. Now, was it acceptable? Not necessarily. It wasn't always acceptable, but they did. They married amongst themselves. And we can see that with the example of the Hausa and the Fulani people. They married amongst themselves. Okay? And I also want to give a special shout out to Burna Boy for standing his ground against Tariq Nasheed, because he made a profound statement that there was no disregard towards African American. Now, by the way, this brother's from Nigeria. Okay, he's a Nigerian brother. And he's saying that, those who are trying their best to bring about division amongst black people in America and the black people over there in the continent are creating problems. And he's correct. They are creating problems. You cannot separate us from learning our history, especially in the continent. And whether you like it or not, that's part of our history. Not just so our history is not just in America. Okay, when we talk about African descended folks here, it's not just in America. It also goes back to that history that's not often discussed within the West African region. It's not often put out there in the forefront. So to try to make that distinction and try to separate that's a problem. To try to keep people from networking with those in the continent, especially when it comes down to being able to build on cultural ideologies and build on political ideologies, etc., that's a problem. Because when you try to separate that, you trying to keep people from being able to learn how to network outside. And not only that, we have to network with each other, we also have to network on a global scale as well. But these very same people have no problem with you networking with those from the European countries. They have no problem with that. They have no problem with you dealing with those in the Arab countries, but let you talk about networking with people from the African continent or in the Caribbean, it's a problem. I understand the mentality now, because to me, that is a white supremacy mentality. But it's ironic that these very same people call themselves being conscious, but they don't realize that they carry on that white supremacy mindset. But that's something to really think about there. It's something to really think about. Okay, so now I want to show y'all this book here. So if you ain't got this book, please get this book. Let me go ahead and zoom it up for y'all, because I want y'all to see this book. This book right here is called In Praises of Black Women by Simone Zwartz Bart. Okay, the Ancient African Queens. So I recommend you guys get that book. So in this book, and it's a very heavy book, by the way. Ooh, all right. So in this book, we're gonna go over some information, right? So in this chapter, it talks about Amina of Zaria, the pink-heeled young girl who defended the Hausa people. Okay. So I wish I could show y'all the pages. All right, so let's read the Proverbs. Proverbs say, whoever has a master is not the master of the load he carries on his back. Even if a piece of wood soaked in the water for 10 years, it will never turn into a caiman. Wow. Now let's just read about a little history of the Hausa people. So it says, between the Niger River and Lake Chad stretches a fertile region, Hausa country thousands of years ago, when the Sahara was not yet a desert but a vast oasis populated mostly by blacks. The Hausa lived in a mountainous zone that is now called the Ari. The desertification pushed them towards the loop of the Niger River, while the neighbors went towards the banks of the Nile, where they founded a new civilization. Many specialists today acknowledge that the Hausa language and that of ancient Egypt are related. Hmm. I wonder how could that be that the Hausa language and the language of ancient Egypt are related. I wonder how that could be, but anyways. It says in the 15th century, Africans who were recent Muslim converts invaded the land of the Hausa. They were particular horsemen wearing helmets and chainmail astride horses covered in metal compare was it copperas coppery? Hold on, let me see how to say this word. Oh, caparisons. My bad, caparisons. Nothing stood in their way. One after another, the cities fell under their yoke, and everyone thought that the land of the house was about to fall into foreign hands. All right. So it says that's when the praise singer of House of Land say that when a pink-haired young woman, Princess Amina of Zaria, showed her true colors to the world, the ancestors, and the God. All right. So basically, the whole thing was to protect that land from being in the hands of the foreigners or those who were from the other tribes. That was her whole purpose. Okay. So let's see what else I can find in this book. There's a lot in this book, so I'm not gonna really go too much in it, but it says Zaria in the days when the great Kanta Kebi led the invisible armies of his master when Kano was still the heart of the indomitable state that successfully fought off waves of invasion by the powerful Bornu. Zaria was a bright comet in the skies of Hausaland. Zaria, ancient Lazu of Queen Amina, that intrepid queen, warrior, relentless leader of victorious armies that defeated neighboring lands. Okay. Now, let me see. All right. So right here, I'm gonna read the part where it says "words of an ordinary woman." Again, I'm reading from this book. Okay. Go ahead. It says, "Life comes and goes. She come the same way she came. No one can run away from her. No one can cheat life." It says, "We say that life comes from the hands and hence return to the hands. So goes the proverb. A newborn is welcomed by the hands. He is caught by hands. Hands cut the umbilical cord. Hands wash the infant. Hands give him life." It says, "On your dying day, you go back to the hands. Hands will do the undressing. Hands will wash the body. Hands will wrap it in a white shroud. Hands will lower you down into your grave." And it says also, here's another part of the Proverbs. We have another proverb. The blood from the head trickles into the neck. If the head is wounded, covered with blood, won't the neck also cover with blood? The blood will run from the head down onto the neck. Thus, when another has experienced great suffering, that suffering also becomes your suffering. The death of your brother or your friend is also your death. We have another proverb. When your neighbor's beard is on fire, wet yours. The fire that caught your friend will probably catch you too, since you are close to him. And so that's a beautiful proverb right there. I just wanted to share that with y'all. But anyways, if y'all have not gotten this book, y'all need to get it. It is very it's very necessary and is dealing with a lot of historical information that we never known about the black women during the time period. She has various volume regarding to this book. So this is volume one. Okay. So I think she has up to 4 volumes. All right. But this is the only book that I have. Okay. And this book probably costs around like $50, $60, I think. Let's see if the price is on here. Nah, the price ain't on here. So yeah, the book is gonna cost around like $50. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy book, but it's necessary. Yeah, it's a lot of information in here. So you can learn anything about the African queens of the ancient time periods, from their royalty, from their military status, from their community involvement, whatever. Whatever you want to learn, you'll find out in that book. Okay. But anyways, I hope you all have a good one, and I hope you all enjoy your Ramadan. All right. So if you're getting ready to break your fast, go ahead and break your fast. All right, and enjoy your family. Have a peaceful Ramadan. And until next time, peace and power elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. All right. Thank you. And salam alaikum.